The fluorescent lights buzzed softly overhead as Marjorie Thompson leaned back in her chair, a smug smile tugging at the corners of her lips. Across the small conference room table sat Denise from HR, clutching a manila folder like it was some kind of sacred artifact. Between them, Kira Jennings, me, sat calmly, hands folded on the polished wood surface. The air was thick with unspoken tension, though outwardly, I appeared unfazed. "We're restructuring your position," Marjorie announced, her voice carrying just enough faux sympathy to make the blow seem softer. "TechVantage is moving in a new direction." Denise chimed in, sliding the folder across the table toward me. "Your contributions have been valuable, but we're consolidating the research division under the product development team." I nodded thoughtfully, accepting the folder without opening it. Inside would be the standard severance package: 2 weeks for every year of service, continued health coverage for 3 months, and a list of career counseling resources I'd never use. "I completely understand," I replied, my tone steady and measured. Relief flickered across their faces. They'd clearly expected tears, protests, or anger. After all, I was a 55-year-old woman being pushed out of the tech industry, where youth was prized above experience. What they didn't know, and what I had anticipated for weeks now, was that this moment wasn't an ending. It was the beginning of something far greater. 15 years ago, when I first joined TechVantage, I was nothing more than another name on a roster. Back then, the company was little more than a fledgling startup trying to carve out its niche in the crowded tech landscape. My role? A mid-level researcher tasked with solving problems no one else wanted to touch. At the time, I saw it as an opportunity, a chance to prove myself in an industry that often overlooked women my age. Over the years, I poured everything into my work. Late nights became early mornings, weekends blurred into weekdays, and holidays were spent hunched over laptops instead of relaxing with family. Slowly but surely, I built something extraordinary, a distributed processing algorithm that revolutionized how data could be handled efficiently. This wasn't just code, it was innovation, a breakthrough that powered TechVantage's flagship product, AccountSphere, which now served over 40% of Fortune 500 companies. But here's the thing about innovation: unless you own it, someone else will take credit for it. And that's exactly what happened. Victor Lawson, our CEO, stood on stage at last year's industry conference, basking in applause while referring to me only as one of our research team members. He spoke passionately about AccountSphere's success, praising its implementation, user interface, and marketing potential, but not once did he acknowledge the person who had created the very foundation upon which the entire system rested. To Victor, I was invisible. To Marjorie and Denise, I was expendable. To everyone else, I was just another cog in the machine. Except I wasn't. 3 months earlier, I stumbled upon something that changed everything. A misdirected email thread landed in my inbox, a careless mistake by someone in legal. Attached was a strategy memo outlining plans to claim my algorithm as company-developed technology without specific inventor attribution. According to the document, they intended to push me out before securing the patent, banking on intellectual property laws that typically favored employers. At first, fury surged through me. How dare they try to erase my contribution? But then clarity settled in. If they thought they could dismiss me so easily, they underestimated me. Badly. I began documenting everything meticulously, every project, every password, every process. On my own time, using my personal equipment, I started refining the algorithm further. These improvements weren't covered by my employment agreement, and within weeks, I quietly filed for a patent under my own name. Thanks to a top-tier IP attorney introduced to me by Gregory Sullivan, the CEO of Precision Systems, TechVantage's largest competitor, the patent was granted with remarkable speed. By the time Marjorie and Denise called me into that conference room, I already knew what was coming. And unlike them, I was prepared. As I walked back to my office after the meeting, I passed the glass-walled conference room where Victor and his executive team were gathered. Through the transparent barrier, I could see him gesturing animatedly at a PowerPoint presentation titled Q3 Revenue Projections. The irony was almost poetic. He was planning the future of a company that relied entirely on technology he refused to recognize. Closing my office door behind me, I pulled out my personal phone and sent a single text message. It's happening. Friday is my last day. The response came immediately. Perfect timing. Contracts are ready. Dinner tonight to finalize details. That evening, I met Gregory at Meridian, an upscale restaurant far from TechVantage headquarters. As the CEO of Precision Systems, Greg knew the value of discretion. We dined in a private alcove shielded by elegant Japanese screens. They actually did it, Greg said, shaking his head as we ordered. I suspected they might, but to cut the very person who developed their core technology, Victor never understood what you actually created. The underlying architecture, I replied, sipping my water. To him, it was just tech stuff. The irony is almost too perfect. Greg slid a folder across the table. All the paperwork is finalized. As soon as you sign, Precision Systems officially acquires exclusive licensing rights to your patent. The press release goes out Monday morning, announcing you as our new Chief Innovation Officer. I reviewed the documents carefully, though I'd already memorized the key terms: a 7-figure signing bonus, substantial equity in Precision Systems, and ongoing royalties from all products using my algorithm. What do you think Victor's face will look like when he realizes what's happened? Greg asked, unable to hide his satisfaction. I'm more concerned about my team, I admitted. They don't deserve to be caught in the fallout. Already addressed, Greg assured me. We have positions for all 6 of them if they're interested, senior roles with significant raises. With a satisfied nod, I signed the final page and closed the folder. In one elegant move, I had secured my future, protected my team, and ensured recognition for my work. To owning your own value, Greg said, raising his glass. I clinked mine against his. To new beginnings. Thursday and Friday passed in a blur of exit interviews, knowledge transfer meetings, and awkward goodbyes. Colleagues approached me hesitantly, offering LinkedIn recommendations and sympathetic glances. Administrative assistants whispered condolences in the hallways, while junior developers awkwardly asked for advice. Throughout it all, I maintained my professional composure. Every file, every password, every process, I documented everything meticulously. Not out of kindness, but as evidence. Evidence that I had acted in good faith while the company had not. During my final exit interview on Friday afternoon, Denise went through the standard checklist with mechanical efficiency. She reminded me that any intellectual property developed during my employment remained the property of TechVantage and asked me to affirm that I had no copies of proprietary company information. I have taken nothing that belongs to TechVantage, I confirmed truthfully. The patent was mine, after all. As I packed at my desk, family photos, conference badges marking 15 years of industry events, and the coffee mug my team had given me last Christmas, Marjorie stopped by, leaning casually against my doorframe. I just wanted to check that everything's clear for your departure, she said, watching me place items into a cardboard box. Crystal clear, I replied, wrapping a small award I'd received for the very algorithm now at the center of my plans. The irony wasn't lost on me as I carefully placed it between layers of tissue paper. You know, Kira, Marjorie continued, these restructuring decisions are never personal. Victor feels the company needs to move in a more youthful direction. I looked up, meeting her gaze directly. I understand completely. Business is business. Something in my tone made her pause briefly, uncertainty flickering across her face. But she quickly dismissed it. What could a soon-to-be unemployed 55-year-old woman possibly do? Will you be taking some time off? She asked, feigning concern. Actually, I already have something lined up, I replied. I start Monday. Surprise crossed her features. That's fast. Anything interesting? I smiled. Very. A leadership position. I'm quite excited about it. She nodded absently, already mentally moving on to other matters. Well, good luck with that. Monday morning dawned bright and clear. I dressed carefully in my new charcoal suit, a power outfit I'd purchased specifically for this day. The Precision Systems town car arrived promptly at 7:30 a.m. to take me to their headquarters, where I'd begin my first day as Chief Innovation Officer. The press release went live at 7 a.m., sending shockwaves through the tech world. Industry newsletters buzzed with speculation as analysts scrambled to understand the implications. By 9:15 a.m., my former team at TechVantage was texting me updates from the chaos unfolding there. Complete chaos here. What did you do? Miguel, my lead developer. I smiled, typing back. Check your personal email. All 6 of you have offers waiting. Meanwhile, 8 miles away at TechVantage headquarters, the scheduled Monday morning executive meeting had morphed into an emergency crisis session. Board members called in remotely, the legal team frantically reviewed my employment contract, and servers from the research division were wheeled in for analysis. At 10:45 a.m., my phone lit up with a desperate email from Victor himself. Kira, there appears to be a misunderstanding. Please call me at your earliest convenience to discuss. I forwarded it to Precision Systems' legal team without responding. By noon, the industry was ablaze with speculation. TechVantage's stock had dropped 7% since the market opened, while Precision Systems had seen a 12% increase. 3 different technology journals requested interviews with me about the strategic coup that had shaken the accounting software industry. How are you feeling? Greg asked, stopping by my office as I settled in. Validated, I replied honestly. 15 years of watching others take credit for my work, of being told I should be grateful just to have a seat at the table, and now, finally, recognition. Over the next few days, the full impact of my departure became clear to everyone at TechVantage. Their flagship product, AccountSphere, relied entirely on my algorithm to process massive datasets. Without licensing rights to my patent, they faced 2 equally unpalatable options: negotiate with Precision Systems, likely at exorbitant rates, or rebuild their core technology from scratch, a process that would take years and cost millions. Victor tried to project confidence during an all-hands meeting, assuring staff that TechVantage would vigorously defend our proprietary technology. But the anxiety in the room was palpable. Several employees updated their LinkedIn profiles, sensing the company's vulnerability. By Wednesday, the industry fallout intensified. 2 major clients contacted Precision Systems about switching from AccountSphere. Analysts published speculative pieces with titles like, "Can TechVantage survive the algorithm crisis?" and "How one strategic blunder may cost a tech giant everything." Through my industry contacts, I learned that Victor had finally acknowledged the severity of the situation to the board. TechVantage would need to either license my algorithm from Precision Systems at painfully high rates or undertake a complete rebuild, a daunting task given the complexity of the original algorithm. They've started interviewing for a new development team, Miguel informed me during a video call. Victor's claiming they can recreate the functionality in 6 months. I laughed. The original algorithm took me 3 years to perfect. And that was with intimate knowledge of the problem space. Exactly, Miguel agreed. Nobody's buying the timeline, especially after your team posted their resignation letters simultaneously. The knowledge drain is massive. 3 months after my departure, I stood on stage at the National Technology Innovation Conference, preparing to deliver the keynote address. The audience was filled with industry leaders, technology journalists, and aspiring developers, many of whom now knew my story. And now, I'm pleased to introduce our keynote speaker, the conference organizer announced. Dr. Kira Jennings, Chief Innovation Officer at Precision Systems and creator of the distributed processing algorithm that has revolutionized data handling across multiple industries. The applause was substantial as I approached the podium. What a difference a few months could make. Last year, I had attended this same conference as part of the TechVantage delegation, seated in the back while Victor gave a presentation about his company's innovations. Thank you, I began, surveying the attentive faces. Today, I want to talk about innovation, ownership, and the importance of properly valuing intellectual contributions, regardless of where they come from. My presentation detailed the technical aspects of my algorithm, but also touched on broader issues of recognition and respect in the tech sector. Without directly mentioning TechVantage, I emphasized the importance of companies protecting their innovators rather than seeing them as replaceable resources. Afterward, during the reception, several young women engineers approached me seeking advice and mentorship. One of them, barely 30, confided, "Your story changed how I document my work." I started keeping detailed logs of my development process on personal time. "Smart," I replied. "Your innovations deserve protection." As the evening concluded, I checked my phone to find an industry news alert. TechVantage had finally announced the licensing agreement with Precision Systems, acknowledging me by name as the algorithm's creator. Their stock had stabilized, though at a significantly lower valuation than before my departure. 1 year to the day after being told to clean out my desk, I sat in my spacious office at Precision Systems, reviewing the quarterly innovation report. Under my leadership, the company had released 3 groundbreaking products built on my algorithm, capturing significant market share from TechVantage and other competitors. A knock at my door interrupted my analysis. It was Greg, holding a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses. "Happy anniversary," he said, setting the glasses on my desk. "The board asked me to share the news with you personally before the public announcement. Precision Systems has officially surpassed TechVantage in market valuation for the first time in company history." I smiled, feeling not triumph, but a quiet satisfaction. That's what happens when you value innovation properly. As Greg poured the champagne, my assistant delivered a sleek envelope. Inside was an invitation to speak at Women in Technology's annual leadership summit. The topic? Owning your intellectual value. How proper documentation changed an industry. "You've become something of an icon, you know," Greg commented, noticing the invitation. The story about the executive who didn't recognize what she had until it was gone has become a cautionary tale in corporate boardrooms. Richard Donovan, who had replaced Victor as TechVantage's CEO, implemented sweeping changes in how the company recognized and rewarded innovation. Their new policies on intellectual property protection and inventor recognition were reportedly modeled after the program I had established at Precision Systems. "It was never about revenge," I said, raising my glass in a toast. "It was about recognition, about showing the industry that innovation isn't anonymous. It comes from real people who deserve real credit." "To proper recognition," Greg agreed, clinking his glass against mine. As the afternoon sun streamed through my office windows, I reflected on my journey. At 56, I had finally found what had eluded me throughout my career, not just success, but acknowledgement. My name was now permanently attached to the algorithm that had changed an industry, exactly where it belonged.